Welcome to the Fantasy Fangirls Podcast, where two sisters dive deep into beloved fantasy lore, characters, themes, theories, and more.
I'm Lexi.
I'm Nicole.
And today we are officially diving back into the Empyrean series for the lead up to Onyx Storm. We can't sit still. We are so excited. This episode is your ultimate TLDR refresher for everything you need to remember from Fourth Wing and Iron Flame as we all get ready for Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, the third installment of the Empyrean series. So if you need a refresher on where characters stand by the end of Iron Flame, some of those really important plots that you know are going to be important in Onyx Storm, we got you. But first things first, listen up for our spoiler warning. Since we're discussing everything you need to know before reading Onyx Storm, it should go without saying that this episode includes spoilers for Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. Interviews with Rebecca Yarros are also fair game, but we are not going to focus on the official Onyx Storm teasers and excerpts that we've received because today is more about getting ready to start Onyx Storm versus speculating what exactly happens in it. If you want our deep dive on the Cosmopolitan excerpt, please do go check out that episode. We have so much to say about that. Link is in the show notes. And we are definitely not bringing up anything from the multi-chapter previews or any leaks. This is a no leak zone here, okay?
So, with all of that said, if you don't know what we mean when we say Papa Soaringale's research, then please go finish the series. We will be here when you're done. And then you'll also have 21 episodes of Fantasy Fangirls deep diving Fourth Wing and Iron Flame to tide you over until the premiere of Onyx Storm.
Next, we at Fantasy Fangirls are adults who say adult things about adult books. In other words, friends, this podcast is rated R.
Part of this episode, we'll be recapping the first two books. So, Lexi, do you know what that means?
Dragons!
And sex! And dragons having sex! So do be mindful of those little listening ears.
Additionally, we are so excited to see you at upcoming live events. We are partnering with Barnes & Noble for the Onyx Storm midnight release party on January 20th in Glendale, Colorado. Then we'll be at Rebecca Yarros' Onyx Storm tour in Denver, Colorado on February 2nd. We're so excited about that.
We have so much in store as podcasting partners at Romantasy BookCon in Los Angeles in February and in Orlando in October of this year.
We'll also be featured guests at Enchanticon in St. Louis, Missouri, August 15th through 17th, and we'll be back at the Dragon Gauntlet in Boyne City, Michigan, September 12th and 13th.
Check out our website's full calendar at fantasyfangirls.com/calendar for more information, tickets, plus our podcast episodes and Fantasy Fan Club virtual events.
And lastly, if you love Fantasy Fangirls, if you are so excited for Onyx Storm and want more Empyrean-themed events like trivia, a live Q&A, book club, and even more content, plus a community to share this passion with, and just so much more, please check out the Fantasy Fan Club, our new official Fantasy Fangirls membership.
We have 3 tiers that you can join. The Cadets, which includes access to our super boppin' Discord, our live Q&As from Lexi and I, book club, exclusive author interviews, trivia, community events, promo codes for live events, plus 20% off all merch. That is for $6 a month. Or you can join the Dragon Riders, which includes everything from the cadet level, plus early access to ad-free episodes, our full episode outlines, and special voting privileges. That is for $10 a month. And of course, we have the Iron Squad, which includes everything from the previous 2 tiers, plus more behind-the-scenes content, a welcome gift, giveaways, private Discord channel, and your name shouted out on the podcast. That is for $25 a month.
Join the party at fantasyfangirls.com/fan club. The link is also in the show notes. And really and truly, thank you so much for supporting this podcast.
Before we dive back into the Empyrean and go straight into Navarre, you know how everyone's doing those New Year's ins and outs lists? My in is healthy hair. Lexi and I both have colored hair. Lexi has her purple, I have my blue, and something that doing major colored hair does is that it can damage your hair. Thank goodness we have Prose to not only keep our color in way longer, but also to make sure our hair is healthy and hydrated.
Since 2017, Prose has transformed traditional hair and skincare with a made-to-order model that reduces waste, celebrates unique beauty over one-size-fits-all beauty standards, and works better than off-the-shelf alternatives. Developed in Paris and bottled fresh in Brooklyn and Los Angeles, Prose combines the expertise of in-house cosmetic chemists with an advanced AI algorithm that personalizes your formulas based on more than 85 unique factors.
Prose is backed by more than 500,000 1,000 five-star product reviews and a clinical study that proves personalization works better. So whether you're looking for stronger strands or even brighter skin, discover the difference of custom hair and skincare that is made just for you. And with the Prose Promise, if you don't love your first order, it's on Prose. There's literally never been a better time to switch to custom.
Prose is so confident that you'll bring out your best hair and skin in 2025 that they're offering an exclusive trial offer of 50% off your first hair care subscription order at prose.com/fantasyfangirls. So take your free consultation, get your one-of-a-kind formulas, and see the difference custom care can make with 50% off at prose.com/fantasyfangirls.
And now it is time to get on our flight leathers, cross the parapet, and prepare to head back to Bezgaev.
I'm so excited!
I got chills. I've been waiting for this.
It would not be the ultimate Empyrean recap episode without one of Nicole's classic battle briefs. In case you don't know, in our deep dives, we always begin each episode with this battle brief segment, where Nicole summarizes what happens in the stretch of chapters we're covering. And since today we're covering all of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, Nicole, how do you feel about a 2-book battle brief?
Let's do this. Book 1, Fourth Wing. Violet Sorrengail, who was training her whole life to be a scribe, has been plunged into the deadly Dragon Riders Quadrant at Bezgaev War College. Our story opens up on Conscription Day, where Violet walks the parapet, a 200-foot-high balance beam that would absolutely kill Lexi. But Violet calms herself down by talking out loud about the 400-year war between Navarre and the evil Poromil. Violet makes it across! Gold star!
Huzzah!
And after saying a quick hey there, hi there, ho there to her old best friend, or as we like to call him, God fucking damn it, Dane, Violet has been sorted into Ravenclaw. Second Wing. But what's this? The beautiful, handsome, brooding, tattooed shadow daddy, wing leader Xaden Ryerson, who's had it out for the Sorrengails, moves her into Gryffindor. Just kidding. He moves her into his wing, the Fourth Wing. Hey, isn't that the name of this book? But now it's time for school, so get ready for a classic months-long training montage filled with deviously poisoning her opponents on the mat, climbing up the deadly gauntlet with the what, Lexi?
Giant hanging balls!
Daily classes with the absolutely positive 100% correct information that has never ever been censored by leadership, right? And of course, I fucking the wing leader who, according to GFDD, God fucking damn it, Dane, is definitely out to kill her. Fast forward to Threshing, one of the most lethal days for all first years, where cadets must go out into the valley and bond one of the coveted and roast-happy dragons. Violet notices a group of overly confident douche canoes who are taking a unconventional approach to threshing by going off to murder the tiny golden feather-tailed dragon. What could go wrong? Violet comes to the tiny golden one's aid and fights off the dragon assassins until something huge lands behind her. And no, Lexi, it's not the giant hanging balls. It is our favorite curmudgeon dragon with an I choose you Pikachu. The dragon Tern and Violet go back to the flight field to add themselves to the dragon roster. But that tiny golden dragon, she won't leave Violet alone because she also chooses Violet Sorrengail. Both dragons? But this game of Twister isn't over yet. Her curmudgeon of a dragon is mated to Sigale, wing leader Xaden's dragon. And now their lives are interdependent. And if Violet dies, it sets off a chain reaction that would lead to Xaden's death too, which means our shadow daddy has to keep Violet, his definite mortal enemy, alive. Oh no! Forced proximity! Gosh darn it! There is one more threshing surprise. God fucking damn it, Dane kisses Violet, and Violet realizes, this dude, not for me. After several unbonded cadets attempt to kill Violet in her sleep, Xaden said, "You're going to get me killed if you keep this up," so he assigns her a bodyguard, golden retriever goodest boy, Liam Mari. But the forced proximity trope has been working over time, because while their very mated dragons are off bang, bang, bangity dragon banging, Violet and Xaden share a passionate first kiss, so passionate that it sets off lightning in the corner. Several more months of training go by and final exams are underway in the form of war games. Violet, in her drive to protect her bodyguard goodest boy Liam, gets a surge of power and unleashes her signet, killing Jack fucking Barlow with a lightning bolt.
Yeah!
Lightning wielder! But don't worry, Lexi. Jack fucking Barlow. He's definitely dead. Later that night, wanting to forget all her new deadly problems, Xaden goes to Violet's room and bang, bang, bangity bang. I said armoire goes bang. Sorry, lovebirds, we've got to interrupt this sex marathon though, because Final Exams War Game Round 2 comes a knockin'. Xaden gets a group of all marked ones together to go off beyond the Navarian wards to Athmine, where they meet up with the evil Paromish Griffin Flyers. But what's this? Xaden's a fucking traitor to Navarre and has been sneakily taking weapons from Navarre to the enemy.
Oh dear!
But wait, there's more. Those same Griffin Flyers have been losing to the absolutely not folklore Venin, power-hungry dark wielders who have been leaving their contacts in for too long. And to make matters worse, there's a horde of Venin heading this way. But wait, it's a little sus that Xaden and co got sent to this exact location where the Venin are coming, right? Well, remember that old best friend, GFDD? Turns out that memory-stealing limp dick sold Xaden out to leadership and got them all flagged for death. God fucking damn it, Dane! Our crew fights for their lives against the horrifying red-eyed Venin and their two-legged wyvern. And sadly, not all make it out of this fight alive, including our goodest boy bodyguard, Liam. It has been our honor.
No.
After Violet takes a poison dagger to the kidney, she rallies just enough strength to win the battle by commanding the sky using her lightning powers. But where can these victors take the on the brink of death Violet to go get healed? Xaden has a plan. After she wakes up in Erasia, which is supposed to be burned to ash, Violet discovers she was mended. But by who? By he's supposed to be dead! Violet's older brother, Brennan. Welcome to the revolution, Violet. Book 2, Iron Flame. The crew that fought at Athmine travels back to Basgiath with our not-so-baby Andarna. Nope, she is now a sassy teenager, no longer golden dragon. Having arrived just in time for graduation, and to convince leadership that they are indeed not dead, getting Daddy Atos Beneshed to the coastal outposts. But the new vice commandant is introduced. Welcome, Dolores Umbridge, to the stage. Just kidding, it's Burton Varish, TLDR. Homeboy is bad news, literally being kicked out of his previous job for being too excited about torture. So they put him in charge of lots and lots of students instead. Xaden learns his new post-graduation assignment is going to have him and Violet doing long distance, and with their dragons getting to only see each other every 7 days. And after weeks of Violet asking for more information, and Xaden unable to share all of his sneaky secrets, our lovebirds are at an impasse that only a steamy shower could fix. Prrr. But one question can be answered. How did they get their own wards in Erasia? Because it turns out they've got a broken ward stone that no one seems to be trying to fix. However, our brilliant fucking woman Violet found out that there are 2 diaries from some of the first 6, the OG wardstone makers, that could tell her how to raise the wards. Let's get the diaries, shall we? Archives heist time. But it turns out that these diaries are more confidential than Mia Thermopolis, Princess of Genovia's, which leads to Violet getting caught and tortured for days by the vice commandant. But don't worry, she has the hallucination of her dead friend, bodyguard extraordinaire Liam, to keep her company. Finally, God fucking damn it, Dane is brought in to Google search Violet's memories and get her talking. But as an I'm sorry for sending you and your friends to your death last book apology gift, Dane instead stabs Varish. Xaden arrives, and after killing their way out of the torture chamber, Xaden, Violet, and GFDD spill the tea to all the cadets about leadership covering up the Venin. And those who say, fuck this shit, I'm out, leave with the crew to Erasia. Hey, Brennan, you said you needed more riders. What else do they need? Weapons and a luminary to make them. So it's time for a field trip to Poromil. But in addition to negotiating for a luminary, we get to know a new character. God fucking damn it, Cat. Not a real cat, but instead a griffin flyer, sheer robe aficionado, and Xaden's bitch of an ex-betrothed. One short, see I can kill Venin demonstration later, the deal is struck. The revolution can have the luminary if they also take the griffin flyer students who survived their school getting overtaken by Venin. Yikes! Griffin flyers and dragon riders under one academic system? It's the best of both worlds, right? It looks like leadership is taking more inspiration from Hannah Montana because it's the climb climb up the cliffs of Draelor. Violet's confidence is shaken thanks to Kat's skillful ability to use her mind work and enhance Violet's jealousy. So her kind, courteous partner Xaden shows Violet just how much she, and only she, is on his mind. And throne bang, throny bang. I said, did he just speak into my mind? Bang! But the secrets aren't over, and boy oh boy, what a secret Xaden has been keeping. Turns out that in addition to wielding shadows, our shadow daddy is also an intrinsic daddy, the only banned signet that is an immediate death sentence for any dragon rider. Enough trouble in paradise, we've got an ending battle to get to. The Venin are en route to attack Besgaiath, so our crew rushes back to the school just in time for, wait, who's that? It's definitely not dead Jack fucking Barlow, who has also gone Venin and destroyed the Navarian wards in the process. Bad JFB. But what's the only way to get the wards back up? The 7 dragon dens must breathe fire on the wardstone. Wait, there's only 6 dens. And Darna says, hold my teenage appropriate non-alcoholic beer, but first the wardstone has to be imbued. So Mama Sorengale is going to sacrifice herself.
No, you can't. There must be another way.
There isn't. Mama Sorengale forfeit the last of her life force to power charge the wardstone. The wardstone is now humming away, and all 7 dragon types breathe fire onto it. And with that tragedy and the Venin yeeted out of Navarre, that's the end of the book, right? Right? No, Violet went to seek out Xaden, and when his eyes meet hers, there's a red rim around them. Our morally gray shadow daddy has officially joined JFB and gone Venin. Welcome to our fucked up family. Yes, we're brothers now. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh boy, Nicole, that was amazing. You must have taken your AG1 today because you absolutely nailed that.
Well, thank you. And you know I did, because AG1 is a part of my every single day routine so that I always ensure to start my day off on the right foot. AG1 is a foundational nutritional supplement that supports energy, digestive regularity, immune support, and even a healthy mood. One will help you be ready to take on whatever 2025 has in store for you. For me, adopting AG1 has been my daily routine game changer. It helps me feel like I'm starting off every day doing something for me and my health. All I do is take a scoop, I put in my water or my smoothie like I did this morning, I give it a good shake or a good blend, and I'm ready to go and do a 2-book battle brief.
AG1 is ready to help you simplify your health goals in 2025 and to help you live that 80-20 life like Nicole and I do always try to. So this new year, try AG1 for yourself. It's the perfect time to start a healthy new habit. And that's why we love partnering with AG1 for this podcast. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. So you'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. Nicole and I do not travel without our AG1 travel packs. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/FFG to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/FFG to start your new year on a healthier note. All right, friends, now that we're feeling good about what happened in Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, it's time to set the stage for where things left off for key characters and plot points as we head into Onyx Storm. Let's start with our beloved Second Squad.
As far as we know, all of the Second Squad riders made it out of the Battle of Besgaiath alive. Not all of their limbs made it out alive. For instance, like Sawyer, who pulled a hiccup and lost his leg after being attacked by a wyvern.
Since his leg is gone, there is nothing left to mend, so he cannot magically get his leg back. Sawyer underwent surgery after the battle and is currently in the healer's care. But given his signet is metal wielding, we're hopeful he'll be able to walk and even ride again with a metal leg that he can potentially control. Since Terran confidently struts his stuff in Violet's saddle, maybe the other dragons will be more open to his dragon accommodating him as well.
I love that. Is like as far as canon in my head that is going to happen. Then we have Sloane Mari, who is the only first year in Second Squad whose signet has officially manifested, and she is a siphon, which is the same power that Terran's previous rider, Naolin, who burned out using his power to save Brennan's life 6.5 years ago, had. Towards the end of Iron Flame, Sloane used her siphoning signet to imbue the Besgaiath Wardstone with Lilith and her dragon Imser's life forces. We can imagine for Sloane that needing to use her power power like this was quite traumatic, even if it ended up killing the woman who was responsible for Sloane's family's executions. Speaking of, Sloane still has her late brother and our beloved Liam Mari's letters that he wrote her. Last we heard, Sloane had caught up to the October letters, which is when Xaden assigned Liam as Violet's bodyguard in Fourth Wing. Learning about Violet through Liam's letters has actually started making Sloane warm up to Violet, at least not hate her outright.
As for the rest of the Iron Squad, Rhiannon, Riddick, Imogen, Quinn, and first years Arik, Lynx, Evelyn, and Baylor are alive and not badly hurt, getting to live another day. While we're mentioning people who are alive and kicking, let's go ahead and say Garrick and Bodhi survived the battle too, okay? Whew.
I would have rioted if Garrick had died before we got to know anything about his signet and why Rebecca Yarros loves him so much.
Then there's Violet, who's been through quite the ordeal. She hasn't quite had time to process the big download from Indarna and is mourning her mother's loss. She also doesn't know it, but her second signet, the one from Indarna, has manifested, according to Rebecca Yarros. More on that later, though. While Xaden has revealed to her that he turned Venin, we know from the end of Iron Flame that despite her initial shock, Violet is sticking by the man she loves and still trusts him. We know this because hours after he shared this secret, she was asleep in bed next to him. So we can infer Onyx Storm won't open with any "I can't be with you because you're Venin" friction, at least for right now.
Let's talk about everyone's favorite shadow daddy, now turned Venin daddy. Xaden may be still breathing, but he has this extra challenge in his life. During the battle, right before the wards went back up, Xaden pulled from the source and thus turned Venin in order to try to defeat the Maven, also known as the General Venin, who Xaden believes is after him. Note, this is the same General Venin who Violet and us assumed to be the Sage. This is the same Venin who had the staff at the Resin battle back at the end of Fourth Wing, and who haunted Violet's dreams in basically all of Iron Flame. Back to Xaden believing the Venin, specifically the General, wants him. Do we know why? No. I'm really looking forward to finding out, though. The only guess I have at the moment is because of how powerful Xaden is, and they're trying to collect the powerful riders like their Pokemon cards, which would also include why they seem to want Violet. There's that line from the previous two books about "you're the one who commands the sky." I'm assuming that's just like a "you're the one who's the super extra powerful rider." So with our knowledge right now, that's the best guess I got.
I'm right there with you with the Venin wanting Xaden because he's powerful, but I really do think they specifically want Xaden to lure Violet to the Venin. Yes, she is very powerful because she commands the skies. Her power is also one of the very few things that can actually kill Venin. The General had taunted Xaden that he would turn for love, and Xaden did end up turning because if he failed, the General said he'd go after Violet. We have a lot of questions around Xaden's connection, for lack of a better word, with this General. How does he know why this General Venin wants him? What's been the communication in the dreams he's had? How similar are they to the ones Violet has had with this same General Venin? I'll leave it at this. Rebecca Yarros has teased we will learn more about all this with the Venin, why they want them, and the dreams in Onyx Storm.
Now Xaden believes, emphasis on believes, that he has killed this General Venin at the end of Iron Flame. He says, quote, "Snapped whatever tether he had on me and killed him. His body fell into the ravine, and now I keep watching the river like it's going to pop back up, even though I know he's miles downstream by now." We are unconvinced, mainly because they seem a little more indestructible than that.
Well, especially this General Venin, who has hinted that he is centuries old. Without going too far down a theory hole, we, meaning Nicole and I, also think this is General Daramore, who was from the Barrens and led the enemy forces in the war 600 years ago. But yes, bottom line, we definitely don't think he's dead.
There's no way. There is no way. Stegale, Xaden's dragon, is livid with Xaden and currently not speaking to him. But Xaden can still wield his shadows. And in fact, it seems like he's got a nice Venin power boost. We also have to wonder if this increased signet strength also impacts his other power. Because remember, I will never forget that we learned in Iron Flame he has 2 signets due to Stegale previously bonding with his grandfather. Although, according to the writer's quadrant records, it's his great uncle. And his second signet is an intrinsic, or at least as Xaden puts it, a type of intrinsic who can read people's intentions. The only other person who knows of this second signet is Violet, because if people knew he was an intrinsic, he would be killed outright.
All of this to say, Xaden is grappling with being a Venin now. He's worried that he's going to be the biggest cause of Violet's suffering, and in his end of book POV chapter, However, he sought out Jack, who's back in the dungeons and requiring the power-blocking serum. Xaden went to him determined to learn the cure so he can not be a Venin, but Jack's like, nope, there is no cure, only hunger for more power. So, welcome to the Venin Club, which makes Xaden go, no! Shifting our attention to what leadership is dealing with after the Battle of Basgiath, Melgren and Devera are negotiating the terms of the Arisha cadets returning to Basgiath. This is something I'm especially curious about heading into Onyx Storm. Not just what these negotiations are, or where the Pormiel Flyers fit into it, since some of them are technically Arisha cadets, but also what is the dynamic going to be between the cadets who stayed at Basgiath and the ones who, by definition, turned traitor and went to Arisha a few months ago. There's probably going to be some tension and power struggles.
Pause. Before we get into the other Basgiath political leaders, I want to do a quick check-in on the revolutionary leaders, aka the Assembly of Arisha, which is made up of 7 individuals, including Xaden and Brennan, Violet's older brother, who were at the Battle of Basgiath. But it's unknown if the other 5 revolutionary leaders also came to the battle.
I'm leaning toward none of them, partly because we just don't hear anything about any of them, but also we know there are less than fuzzy feelings about Basgiath and its leadership, and they were not wanting to help. And I think Brennan was the only one who came because he wanted to help his siblings.
I feel like if anyone came, it would have been Felix, because
I agree.
He seems the most humane of all of them. But because he was so close to Violet, I feel like we would have heard his name mentioned for sure.
Yep.
So that's kind of a bummer, Felix. Back to our Basgiath political players, however, let's talk about Professor Markham, the head of the Scribe Quadrant, who knows the truth about the Venin and has been most certainly controlling the narrative that, Venin don't exist. And he's, of course, leading the charge with propaganda against Pormiel. Markham's last known location was in Kaldir with the king, but this was before the cadets left for Arisha, aka the end of part 1 of Iron Flame. But he is absent at the ending battle at Basgiath, which is a little sus, I'm not gonna lie.
While we're on the topic of sus characters, Daddy Atos, or if you're not familiar with Fantasy Fangirls, Colonel Atos, Dane's dad. We haven't seen him on the page since Second Squad returned from War Games at the start of Iron Flame, when Lilith learned that he cleared an entire outpost and nearly got her daughter killed. She sent him to a coastal outpost as punishment, which we know those outposts historically get the least action. However, we can assume Daddy Atos orchestrated the assassination attempts on Violet and the other Resin survivors throughout the first half of Iron Flame. Why? Because his parting words to Violet were, "Secrets die with the people who keep them." And that is the exact message the assassins relayed to her in both attempts.
Quick theory, because if he is at one of the coastal outposts, we can strongly assume we are going to be going to the Isle Kingdoms in Onyx Storm, just with all of the mentions that we've had in specifically Iron Flame. What if Violet runs into him on her way to the Isle Kingdoms, and that's how we get Daddy Atos back in the story?
Because I don't think he's been at the coastal outposts because everybody was pulled elsewhere, and I think that he actually is at Basgiath, which I'm getting to in a short while.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Even more interesting about Daddy Atos is his connection to the Venin. One of the would-be assassins had eyes, quote, rimmed in red, and he was described as abnormally fast, which makes us very inclined to think this first year was a Venin. So we have to ask if Atos knew this.
Yes.
But what's more, he is the one who set Xaden up at Athbane back at the end of Fourth Wing. We know the Navarian-made box found at Resin was a lure for Venin. So Daddy Atos must have a tie to these Venin luring boxes, which we'll get to shortly because they are also very important at the Battle of Basgiath thanks to Jack fucking Barlow. Last thing on Daddy Atos, this is what you were kind of referring to here, Nicole. He's not present during the final battle that we know of. Military was pulled from other outposts to go to Samara, which was the large border outpost where General Melgan thought the Venin attack was going to be. Then, once they realized the attack was actually at Basgiath, it took half a day to fly from Samara to Basgiath to join in the battle, which might mean Daddy Atos is already back at Basgiath after leaving his coastal outpost to first go to Samara, then Basgiath. But that's just pure speculation. As a secret bad guy colonel who was General Sorrengail's aide, I wonder if Daddy Atos will weasel his way up the ranks and we'll see him in more of a leadership role in Onyx Storm.
Moving to General Lilith Sorrengail, female who sacrificed her life for the well-being of Navarre. Her and her dragon's Imsur's power and life forces were siphoned to imbue the Wardstone, enabling it to be lit by all 7 dragon dens. We also learn in the chapter 66 epigraph from Nolan to Lilith that they were trying every method they know of, but, quote, there is no cure, there is only control, which raises a lot of questions about when this missive was written. Nolan was a lieutenant colonel in the epigraph. However, presently in our story, he is a colonel. So how long has leadership been searching for a cure and, for lack of a better word, experimenting on Venin? And why was Lilith specifically seeking a cure for Venin? The fandom's got a lot of theories, we got a lot of theories, but we're not going to get into them this episode, so let's keep going.
Mira and Brennan. Hey, Nicole. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not Mira. Violet and the readers notice Mira has disappeared in the aftermath of their mother's death and at the end of the battle. I'm personally convinced she snuck off to retrieve some of their mother's valuable things before they're burned, as is custom to burn all of one's belongings when they die. We also know that since the Venin fiasco at Viscount Dacaris's Empyrean, Mira can create wards outside the Navarrian wards, meaning she doesn't have to solely rely on extending from existing wards, which she previously only thought she could do. She can actually create her own. For our back from the dead big brother, Brennan mended the broken Wardstone and is giving out orders after the battle. That's the last we saw of him. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out with Brennan's return to Basgiath, even if it's temporary and he eventually goes back to Arisha, which has been his home for the last 6 years. Now, around Basgiath leadership and professors, he's bound to be known again as Brennan Sorrengail, which makes me very excited that maybe we'll finally learn more about what exactly happened between him, Ben Ryerson, who, according to records, shot and killed him, and Naolan. We can't forget about the rune-shaped scar on Brennan's palm. What does it mean? We speculate that it's connected to his resurrection. Should we be concerned with a correlation that Wyvern are created with complex runes? I personally don't believe this means Brennan is under control of Venin the way Wyvern are, but there is something about runes and life forces both for Brennan and for the Wyvern here.
All of this talk about Brennan makes me think about how traumatic his past year has been, and honestly how much trauma we're all going under in the next few weeks. I'm pretty sure we could all use some therapy to help out with this process. Luckily, this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What do you want your 2025 story to be? Every January brings a new 365 blank pages waiting for you to write in. Is 2025 the year you're ready for a plot twist, or the year you've been wanting to revise? Life isn't about resolutions that fade away by February. It's about picking up the pen and becoming the author of your own life. Think of therapy as your editorial partner, helping you write new chapters and create the meaningful story you deserve to live.
I started my therapy journey this past year in 2024, and it was instrumental in helping me with all of the big changes that have been going on in both of our lives. And we have so much in store for 2025. And while it is so exciting, it's also very scary. And that is where my therapist comes in to hold my hand and walk me through all of it too. Oh, man.
BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Access to a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Easily switch from one therapist to another at no extra cost. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/FFG to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/FFG. Really quickly, let's rapid fire some other important people in this story, starting with our girl, Jesinia, the queen of the scribes, if you will. A brief recap. Jesinia is one of Violet's friends from the Scribe Quadrant, and throughout Iron Flame assists Violet in researching, for lack of a better term, forbidden knowledge on the creation of the wards and the first 6. During the final battle, Jesinia was the key translator who discovered that there are supposed to be 7 fire-breathing dragons. She is also the only one who could read Moranian, which is what Lyra's journal was written in. But she did not put 2 and 2 together that Indarna is the 7th dragon. Instead, she was like, this is an error. I know battle's happening, but error, error. By the end of Iron Flame, it is also implied that she and Sawyer are in a relationship of sorts, which we are so here for.
We totally hard launched them in our Empyrean study guide.
People were like, are they actually confirmed? And we're like, they are now. Let's talk about Dane, our GFDD himself. Writers are known to have tattoos, and Dane is rocking 2 brand new spanking new ones, which are Jack fucking Barlow's handprints from when he touched Dane. This was happening while Jack fucking Barlow destroyed the wards, he killed his dragon, and then he drained Dane. Good day for Jack fucking Barlow. We see Dane at the end of the Battle of Basgiath when Rhiannon is telling Violet how all of the Wyvern have fallen from the sky. So we do know that he is alive, and we are assuming, well, in the second half of Iron Flame, he and Violet are slowly healing their friendship after Dane took one of Violet's memories, which led her and a group of marked ones to their first Venin battle at the end of Fourth Wing, resulting in Liam and Soleil's death. But after Dane stabbed the Vice Commandant Varish in the end of Part 1 of Iron Flame, and then left with Violet and Co. to go to Erasia, he is firmly on the side of the revolution, even Xaden giving him the stamp of approval. But all of this to say, I do trust no one, especially those with their dragon breath that smells. So Dane is looking a little sus, but he's, I don't know. Maybe that's just my resulting. I'm also in the middle of my Fourth Ring reread, so it might be a little bit of recency bias.
Dane has redeemed himself according to everybody in the book. However, Kath, his dragon, does notably have bad breath, and the only other dragons that have bad breath are directly connected to Venin. So that's where it gets sus. Totally separate, but potentially something to keep an eye on about Dane is that he has a gift for languages, including Crovelish, which might be helpful if they venture into Port-Emil.
Also, if they venture into the Isle Kingdoms, because maybe they speak a different language. Dane also helped Violet translate Warwick's journal, which was written in Old Lucerish.
Remember that this is the journal of one of those first six, Warwick, who purposely did not mention the Seventh Den the helpful way Lyra's did. And I don't think we've seen the last of Warwick's journal. Which I will bring up in Papa Sorrengail's research.
Of course.
Let's wrap this section up with Cat and the Griffin Flyers. Last we know of at least some of the Port-Emil Flyers is that they are now at Basgiath after the battle. Remember that the Flyer Academy in Zolia was overtaken by Venin months ago, and now the Revolution and Port-Emil's Flyers have been working together and using Orisha as headquarters. The Flyers who had previously been at their now overtaken academy came to Orisha and were absorbed by the Basgiath-turned-Revolution Dragon Riders. These Flyers and their griffins who came to help with the battle were especially helpful tracking down the Venin luring boxes and getting the injured to the healers.
Now that we've got a good foundation as to where everyone stands, let's get into some key factors that we are studying, theorizing, and keeping an eye out for as we head into Onyx Storm. First up, the Venin. Dun, dun, dun. Lexi, who do you want to start with?
I don't want to start with him, but we have to. Jack fucking Barlow. This asshole who will not stay dead killed his dragon Bade to deactivate the Basgiath wardstone by spilling her blood on the lit wardstone to extinguish the black flame. After he gave his evil villain monologue, Xaden knocked him out and Nolan forced the power blocking serum into him.
Now, quick pause. This is the serum that was used as a new development on the second years in Iron Flame. And our crew assumed that this was actually designed in the first place to control Jack the Venin, which I'm not going to lie, Jack the Venin kind of sounds like a rocker name.
Don't say anything cool about him.
That's why we have Jack fucking Barlow.
So now Jack fucking Barlow is in Basgiath custody and supposedly back under their control, leaving readers wondering why Nolan has spent months working so hard to mend Jack's soul and cure him of being Venin in the first place. That's a huge question mark as we head into Onyx Storm. But during his evil villain monologue, Jack revealed several bits of useful information, including, number one, it was oh so easy for him to control his dragon, and we now know the telltale sign of his dragon under Venin control was her cloudy eyes. Jack also didn't die when his dragon died, which was previously unheard of for riders. Think of it like a battery recharge. He showed signs of dying along with his dragon until Jack got a power boost from channeling from the source, then he was good again. Number two, Jack revealed he is working with other Venin. For instance, we can gather he promised to deactivate the wards and make Navarre defenseless so the waiting Venin could invade. Plus, he planted lure boxes around Basgiath and up the path to the Vale for the Venin. Jack was told that Violet is the one they want, though he doesn't understand what makes her so special. Oh, and there's also that little detail that there are Venin hiding in plain sight among everyone. Because yes, while Venin aren't at full strength and they can't animate their wyverns within Navarre's wards, it is possible to become a Venin within the wards. That's big point number 3, which, by the way, Jack became a Venin sometime between Threshing and his challenge with Violet in Fourth Wing. Within the wards, Venin can still feed from the ground enough to survive, which changes everything the dragons and our crew thought possible.
Let's go back back to those Venin lures, though. We learned from the Battle of Resin at the end of Fourth Wing that certain types of runed boxes attract Venin, and they are Navarian craftsmanship. That's weird. To lure the Venin in to overtake Bezgaeth and the Vale, Jack fucking Barlow planted an unknown number of rune boxes throughout the college. While Dane was Google searching Jack's memories, he found out some of these boxes' locations to find and destroy them. But our forces still have not been able to track down a dozen or so of these lures. That's bad. That's real bad. Now with Xaden being Venin, I wonder if he's going to be able to find the extra ones at Bezgaeth. We know that Garrick's dragon Kruth is also highly sensitive to runes, so odds are he will be able to track them down as well. While we have a lot of questions around this Venin luring rune box, the most important one is, who the fuck in Navarre is making these? And why is it Daddy Atos? Or at least him being in charge of making them, or he's like high up the chain. Because I'm pretty sure that's a hill I'm willing to die on.
Well, now let's get into the heart of Jack's big reveal. The Venin are already among us within the wards. For lots more thoughts on this, tune into our episode about Cosmopolitan's Onyx Storm excerpt. Right now, let's focus on the undercover Venin top contenders.
We're positive that we're going to get some kind of like, surprise, this character you've known all along is Venin. So who are our prime suspects?
I think the number one prime suspect is Daddy Atos, but is he a Venin or in league with the Venin? So not necessarily one himself.
If I had to put money on it, I would pick Daddy Atos, but if he is a Venin, he would have to be an initiate, which is the lowest level of Venin, because he doesn't have red veins or perma red eyes. And I don't think Daddy Atos, at least from what we know about him, I don't think he'd be cool with being the lowest level Venin.
I think that's why we're both in agreement that Daddy Atos may be in league with the Venin, but isn't one himself. I definitely see him thinking he's an important partner, but really the Venin are pulling his strings and he's just their puppet. We do know, or I suppose strongly assume, Daddy Atos had the Venin lure box planted at Resin to set Xaden up. Separately, but definitely possibly related, he was familiar with the Bezgaeth Wardstone because Dane says his father took him to see it.
I definitely think the Venin could kill him as like all right, you're no longer useful to us. Goodbye, Daddy Atos. And you know what? I wouldn't be too sad to see him go bye-bye. I don't think there are any undercover Venin as cadets who went to Erasia, or at least I'll say ones that we're really familiar with. So I don't think it's anyone in second squad or like Emery, Heaton, Bodhi, etc. If there are undercover Venin going to Erasia, they're probably unnamed characters from Iron Flame that we'll get to know in Onyx Storm.
Then, of course, there's the scribes. Maybe not Markham, but someone else among the scribes who could be Venin.
You mean like possibly Nasia? Or at least Nasia's the victim of a bunch of Venin scribes? Nasia is the scribe who is always on guard outside of the archives and is always asleep in Iron Flame, to the point where Violet's just like, and on cue, there's Nasia. What if the Venin drugged Nasia to knock him out and then snuck in and out of the archives, and that's how they discovered how to destroy the wards, or that's how they discovered some really important information that we're going to learn later. My strongest guess, however, other than Daddy Atos, is the other members of Navarian military. From the bonus chapter 27 in Xaden's POV from Fourth Wing, I am pretty convinced that Venin are working within the outposts to weaken the wards along the Breivik and Signisan borders. These are also the two Poramelian provinces that border the Barrens, mostly because of how many mentions we get of the wards falling from these outposts in Battle Brief and, like I mentioned, in Chapter 27.
All right, friends, we're taking a quick break to let you know that this show is sponsored by Squarespace. With my background as a marketer, I know how important a website can be for a growing business. I mean, hey, look at Fantasy Fangirls. Our website is essential to getting the show in front of new listeners. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place, all on your terms.
For new or experienced entrepreneurs, you'll love the customer buying experience that Squarespace provides. Make checkout seamless for your customers with simple but powerful payment tools, accept credit cards, PayPal, Apple Pay, and in eligible countries, offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. Plus, Squarespace lets you sell exclusive content on your website by adding a paywall to sell courses or files that your customers can download, like PDFs, music, or ebooks.
And then for us on Fantasy Fangirls, we love going into the back end and checking out Squarespace's fantastic analytical tools. I love my analytics so much. It empowers me to get insights on top traffic sources, understand how our reach is growing, see what really resonates with people the most, so we can then learn where to focus new engagement.
If you want to supercharge your website, go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/FFG to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Switching gears, I wouldn't be me if I did not bring up Papa Sorrengail's research. Because if you're new here, I have been hung up about this research since we learned about it in Fourth Wing. So let's lay out all the puzzle pieces that we know of in hopes of some dots connecting in Onyx Storm. Papa Sorrengail was writing a book about Feathertails and researching the Second Crowland Uprising. The only tome in the archives that mentions the power of Feathertails is missing, as we learned from Daddy Atos, which makes me absolutely believe it is with Papa Sorrengail's research. He never finished his research on the Second Crowland Uprising, which happened 200 years ago. According to Lilith, Papa Sorrengail uncovered in his research that Warwick did not want anyone else to hold the power of the wards, like Lyra did. But you know who has been very curious about Papa Sorrengail's research? Daddy Atos. He and his best buddy Varish were obsessed with Andarna and how she's a Feathertail. They are also eerily connected to the Venin, as we've mentioned. When Varish pointed out that it was ironic that Papa Sorrengail was writing a book on Feathertails, who haven't been seen in hundreds of years, and then his daughter bonded with one, Andarna notably is silent when Violet asks if it's indeed a coincidence, which must mean that Andarna somehow, some way, knew about Papa Sorrengail's research, and she already knew that Violet would be her writer, which makes sense because she and Papa Sorrengail were both alive for less than a year at the same time. This direct connection to Andarna makes me wonder if Papa Sorrengail uncovered the secret behind activating the wards with the Seventh Dragon Den, since his research also mysteriously involved the First Six's journals. And the Second Crowland Uprising somehow fits into all of this too. That's my really short version of Papa Sorrengail's research. Before I wrap up Papa Sorrengail's research here, we know that Violet knows where his research notes are, quote, in the one location he spent the majority of his after-hours time, which means it is not in the archives, but it is somewhere in the Basgiath vicinity.
Let's move on to these first 6 writers. First off, who are they? More than 600 years ago, this group of 6 bonded with dragons to protect the humans and the dragons' hatching ground from the Venin, thus forming the first Empyrean. As part of this mutually beneficial protection, the first 6 carved and weaved wards into what is now known as the Basgiath Wardstone. However, we should note that the first 6 were not the first dragon riders. They were just the first to, survive. 2 journals of the first 6 were introduced in Iron Flame. We have Warwick's journal, who gave false information, or at least just mildly confusing information, and Lyra's journal, who truthfully described how to activate the Wardstone, because she believed the knowledge should be shared and not kept secret by Navarre. That is how Violet figures out that Andarna is of a 7th Dragon Den, and she needs the other 6, in addition to Andarna, to set fire to the Wardstone in Iron Flame to resurrect the wards.
We cannot talk about the first 6 and not give a TLDR on the wards that protect Navarre.
The wards are extended further at the outposts with imbued alloy, which is conveniently the only thing that can kill Venin. Also conveniently, what seems to be going missing at the outpost, thus making it possible for Griffin Flyers to attack. Xaden and his crew are careful about taking the alloy, but not making it so that the wards fully fall, as we see in Xaden's POV of chapter 27. But someone appears to be removing the ward extension alloy at the outposts, which is why the wards are falling more and more regularly, especially along the eastern outposts. Currently, the Navarrian wards are extended to their maximum, being able to cover most of Navarre, but not all of it. Like, for instance, Aratia, which is probably why they attempted to erect a second wardstone there. It is unknown as to why the first 6 only activated the wardstone in Basgiath, though.
Well, they did need all 7 dragon dens to breathe fire on it, so I believe the 7th dragon den left before they could do so. Why did the 7th dragon den leave? No one knows. yet. In fact, it's a good time now to dive into Andarna and the Seventh Den. As for the color of this mysterious Seventh Den, we know that Andarna's color reflects the colors of her surroundings. Violet also describes her mental bond with her as pearlescent. And Andarna was able to choose to look black because she wanted to be like Taryn. Andarna confirms that the reason she was left behind was in case she'd be needed to breathe fire on the Wardstone, or at least that's what she can remember because it's been centuries. She states that she, quote, waited 650 years to hatch for Violet, the girl who had the mind of a scribe and the heart of a writer. So somehow, Andarna knew a year and a half before Violet that she'd be a writer. I just can't wait to learn more. Andarna also roasted a Venin when they are known to be dragon fireproof. While she decapitated the Venin too, its head was smoking, which it shouldn't be doing that if it's fireproof, leading us to strongly assume the Venin are not immune to the Seventh Den. Separately, but probably definitely not separately, there is a mysterious weapon that defeated the Venin 600 years ago. So, all of this to say, get ready for the Seventh Den dragon to be a big factor in this story.
Now, let's dive into some rapid-fire memory refreshers and questions that we have heading into Onyx Storm. Number 1, the Orisha wards are fading. Violet managed to get partial wards up in Orisha, but according to Lilith, they will not last. Because the majority of Besgaeth left-turned Orisha riders are now back in Besgaeth, I am super curious as to how this alliance with the Flyers is going to work. If the Flyers even stay at Besgaeth, they won't be able to channel. But if they go back to Orisha, or even anywhere, they won't have wards. There's a Venin, a Planty. So are they going to figure out some way to get the Griffin Flyers to channel in the wards? Are they going to, which I highly doubt it. Navarre's kind of an asshole around that, so I don't think so. I really think the Peromish have gotten the shittiest end of the stick for 600 years.
Number 2, the second half of Violet's hair is silver, and we don't know why yet, but Rebecca Yarros has told us we will eventually find out, and Violet will have to grapple with the reason why. She did not specify that it's an Onyx Storm, but eventually we will learn. In the same breath, we have to bring up what we do know about Lilith when she was pregnant with Violet. Lilith almost died from a sickness while she was pregnant with Violet, and she blames the fever for stealing all of her daughter's coloring and her strength. There are a lot of theories out there that Venin were involved in this supposed sickness. Now that Lilith is dead, it'll be interesting to see how this truth comes out about Violet's silver hair.
Number 3, more people are dying on the parapet these last few years. We know that Violet's year is the smallest to walk the halls of Besgaeth since the first 6. Woof. Are there students dying faster because of the assholes who pushed them off the parapet like Jack fucking Barlow tried to do? Or are more and more students who are quote-unquote dead turning Venin, thus making it seem like classes are getting smaller?
Number 4, on that note that may or may not be related, fewer and fewer dragons are willing to bond each year. We also know that the Empyrean, aka Dragon Leadership, have been divided for a while about what to do about the Venin invasion. Now that it's basically an all-out war with the Venin and they almost managed to overtake the Vale, which is the dragon's sacred hatching grounds, does this mean the Empyrean is going to unanimously take action? This series is titled The Empyrean. Does this mean we're going to see more emphasis on the role of this dragon government as we head into the second half of the series?
We also cannot forget about Xaden's mysterious mother. Her marriage contract with Xaden's dad, Fen Ryerson, stated that an heir had to survive until the age of 10, and then she was free to yeet. So that's what she did. When Xaden was 10, she up and left, and he hasn't seen or heard from her since. There's a lot of questions and theories about who she is, where she is, and we have bets on it, and how/if she will come back into play in the series.
Number 6, King Tari's youngest son is missing and the king is looking for him. But guess what? We know where he is. Arik Greycastle, or his real name, Cam Tari, is now a bonded dragon rider, but his father doesn't know that yet. So I'm very curious to see how that will all play out, including what we'll learn about his older brother Halden, who is the heir to the kingdom, knows about the Venin, and as far as we know, is not willing to do anything about it.
All right. You all know what's coming next. We cannot finish out this episode without discussing Violet's second signet. But first, with all of the streaming services out there, I feel like I'm constantly signing up for a streaming service that 1 or 2 or 10 months later, I realize I've been paying for this service all along, even though I'm not using it anymore. Getting Rocket Money was a game changer for me and my husband. They find your unwanted subscriptions and even help you cancel them, so you never have to worry about them slipping through the cracks.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money automatically scans your bills to find opportunities to save, then you can ask them to negotiate on your behalf. They'll deal with customer service so you don't have to. Then you can see all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features.
Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/fantasyfangirl today. That's rocketmoney.com/fantasyfangirl. rocketmoney.com/fantasyfangirl. Last but not least, the thing that we are all being kept up at night and keeping an eye out for, Violet's second signet. Oh God, we know it manifested in Iron Flame and the clues are all there. Rebecca has said it's meant to be obvious, and she's also mentioned that we might be underwhelmed by it.
We know that signets manifest based on who the writer is at their core and what they need most. So let's list off who we know Violet is at her core and what she needs most. She is someone who needs information and full disclosure. Facts, answers, and truth keep her centered. She needs to protect those she loves. And at her core, Violet has the mind of a scribe and the heart of a writer.
I am dying on the hill that she is an intrinsic. I think she's going to assume she's something else, like a truthsayer or something, another mind signet. I definitely think it's going to lean into that. But then there's going to be this extra twist that Rebecca is oh so good at, that nope, she's an extra. She's an intrinsic. She's something like that. I'm leaning towards intrinsic because I keep going back to the throne scene for multiple reasons, but this is one of them. But that's when I think it manifested. She reads Xaden's thoughts, and it wasn't their normal communication because when they normally talk, it's in italics with quotation marks around the sentences. But in the throne scene, it is in italics with no quotation marks. And I do not think that was in editing or anything like that. I think that was very intentional. The only thing that throws me off here is that Xaden says, like, I shouldn't have done that, which is very Hagrid of him. I realize I shouldn't have said that. But he doesn't know how his signet works. So could he be a type of intrinsic who can project his thoughts into other people's minds? Possibly. But it seems more likely that Violet accidentally used her signet and then Xaden thought it was him because he doesn't know how this signet works. We also know that Violet needs information. And when figuring out that Xaden's an intrinsic, she says, quote, he's someone who needs information. Same two words, needs information. And that's when it clicks for her that he's an intrinsic. I see that as a direct clue. I also did not think I was going to be going into Onyx Storm, especially by the end of our Iron Flame coverage, with a, like, I will die on this hill that it's Violet's second signet. But here we are. Lexi, what's your top guess?
I am along for the ride.
Oh my God.
No, I do think that intrinsic or something revolving around the truth is a top contender. I have absolutely no evidence to base this off of, but I really love the idea of it tapping into her mind of a scribeness. I don't know how that would look as a signet, but I could see it even pairing with something about finding the truth. That's where my head is at, and I am excited to find out.
That was such a safe answer.
I have my other hills I'm willing to die on.
You know what? That's fair. And you know what? I will never forget Jack Barlow is definitely dead.
I know,
and you know
right?
who else won't forget? Everyone in our DMs. Thank you.
I know. Yes. Thank you, everyone. And there you have it, friends. We hope that this refresher episode was useful, whether you are doing your Empyrean reread or not. And we really can't wait to see you for next week as well, where we are going to be interviewing Kaya and Gabriel of the Empyrean graphic audio. And we also have so much more Empyrean content, both episodes on social media with our fantasy fan club, all of that. Speaking of our fantasy fan club, we would love to give the biggest warm welcome to our newest, and for the first time, we're calling them the Iron Squad members.
Welcome to new Iron Squad members, Katie C, Alyssa B, Tatiana, Carrie, Madison C, Sin, Bree T, Nicole Y, Shannon S, Indiana, Taylor M, Ranha, Leanne W, Valerie, Nicole D, Lisa C, Jeannie T, Amanda B, Camiel, Danielle, Caitlin R, Paulette H, Corey E, Maggie, Rebecca T, Paige S., and Megan K.
Wow! You all are amazing. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And friends, if you're like, hey, I want my name shouted out on the podcast and be shouted with all the love too, join the Fantasy Fan Club at fantasyfangirls.com/fan club. And of course, the link is also in the show notes.
And in case you missed the exciting news, we have officially announced what book we are covering after the Onyx Storm deep dive. It is going to be the Kindred's Curse saga by Penn Cole, starting with book 1, Spark of the Everflame, in April. Link is in the show notes to get this spectacular first book of the series.
And seriously, if you are not following us on Instagram and TikTok, what are you doing? We have so many Empyrean guides, theories, so much more content in this lead up to Onyx Storm, and we can't wait to share this experience with you. Give us a follow at Fantasy Fangirls Pod.
And in case you haven't already, please do not forget to rate and review the podcast. It takes 2 seconds to hit that 5-star button, to write a little love note in the review section. Thank you so much to the Apple Podcast people. Y'all have been killing it lately with the written reviews and making my heart all warm and fuzzy. If you haven't done already, it's one of the best things you can do for not just this podcast, but for any of your favorite podcasts out there.
Thank you also so much to our content researcher, Brooke, who helped us put this episode together. And of course, our executive producer, aka our sanity manager, Hayden. We literally do not know what we would do without you.
You are literally the keeper of our sanity, especially right now, my guy. And last but not least, share this episode with your fellow Empyrean friends so we can all get pumped together to get our hearts ripped out by sweet Rebecca Yarros.
Yay! We'll see you soon, everybody. Bye-bye. Nicole, how do you feel about a 2-book battle brief?
I feel like I need some water. Hold on 1 second. Between Navarre and the evil Poromil. I don't know why I said that. Like, what's behind door number 2?
Evil! Come on, Nicole.
And the evil. Academic system. It's the best. Whenever you drink out of your new cup, you just look like